do over there to help students out. Another thing, I guess I alluded to this, is just that, yes, there's some definitions around what an apprenticeship or an internship is compared to a clinical placement, but the boundaries are blurring. And I think in today's market, when CEOs and others are talking about their great new apprenticeship programs, if you dig under the surface, often they look a little bit more like an internship. Or it's a unique partnership between a company and a university where those traditional labels don't necessarily apply. So it's recognizing that this is a spectrum and that as a company, you have many different options along the spectrum versus what you've always been doing. I guess and I think we had 6 or 7 kind of key conclusions. But, another one that comes to the fore is ROI and establishing some measures that you can figure out how to do better, of course, but then fuel expansion and resource based on proving that the model works.
All right. So have a clear linkage to a broader talent strategy, recruiting, retention, whatever it is, develop an ROI. Who do you think, Sean, is doing really good work in the space? Do you have any case studies of companies that are being particularly innovative around this?
Yeah, well, and certainly there's Microsoft over the years doing a very good job in terms of measurement and operating a program at scale. At Northeastern, we have a number of employer partners. We have more than 3,000 of them in total.
Wow.
But we have partners where at any given moment there are 100 to 200 plus cooperative education students employed at that organization. Our study here wasn't focused only on Northeastern, but we did dig in depth with some case studies. Some of the key ones were Siemens, which people might be familiar with their mechatronics apprenticeship program in Charlotte that began a number of years ago. That's been a very innovative program. And I think it partly comes from the heritage of Siemens, a German firm, right? Having existed and operated in that sort of German-Austrian environment.
Apprenticeship model.
Exactly. Bloomberg and its internship program. And if I recall correctly, they've really, used that program in part to drive some better outcomes around diversity in their recruiting. Raytheon, who's one of our key partners among many others, they basically have a number of cooperative education roles, and I think 40 to 50% of their co-op applicants are women, which is fairly unique for an engineering firm, I believe. And then another one, maybe one that's a little bit more in the tech space, is Wayfair, which is based here in Boston, the e-commerce company. And so they also are doing a lot around cooperative education and building out their technical roles.
Interesting. So it might even help with your D&I strategy as well, in terms of getting a diverse pool of talent into your workforce.
Yeah, that's a key point. We definitely need more data there. We'd like to do more studies, even if they're just case studies, and understanding what are the cases for this or what have companies found. But there were a number of organizations we talked with, KeyBank, State Farm, Northrop Grumman. They all reported that their internship programs, apprenticeships, etc., had encouraged the development of a more diverse, more diverse workforce.
Sean, from your center and your study and the research that you're doing around this stuff, are there more resources that talent leaders and chief learning officers and CHROs can pull on to think through their strategy around work-based learning?
Sure. Well, there's the study we just discussed, and all of these are available, free and publicly on the website. That one was designed specifically for employers, so it's probably of most practical value. We also did a national survey of 750 HR leaders last year called Educational Credentials Come of Age, and that was about how they use and value credentials and what they think of the new types of micro-credentials when they're looking at candidates. It's the first and I think still the only data on that. So, for example, if I recall correctly, we found that about 50% had seen a digital badge in a resume, and they were vaguely familiar with it, at least. And then about 15% had actually hired someone that earned a digital badge. And so we got qualitative responses on that. We could compare that to people that, encountered a MicroMasters and that sort of thing. Had the privilege of doing an article for the corporate audience in Harvard Business Review a month or two ago. And a lot of our work has classically been focused on higher ed, but we're really trying to pivot that and engage the corporate community. So would love any input on what people need and what they're interested in.
Well, I think shortage of talent, shortage of specific skills is such a pressing issue for most of us that I don't think you'll have any problem getting interest and engagement from the community. Sean, where can people learn more about you, about the center, and about your work?
Thanks for asking. It's probably easiest to Google the name of the center and just do a search, or you could use Bing if you prefer, or another search engine. It's the Center for the Future of Higher Education and Talent Strategy, or look for my name in Northeastern University. Also very active on Twitter. And so the Twitter handle is High Ed Strat, like Higher Ed Strategy, but it's HIEDSTRAT.
Love it. Love it. Last question, Sean, if you have a moment. What influenced you personally to get involved in this work? Was there a person or an incident or some sort of catalyst that drove you to spend so much of your time and energy on learning and work?
Yeah, I think it began probably as my college career was bridging into employment. And
how relevant.
I forget if I mentioned it. Yeah, I forget if I mentioned at the start, I did my undergraduate degree at Northeastern University. And I chose this school very intentionally, where I wanted to get out into that, tech boom.
Yeah.
And be practicing and applying what I was learning rather than just go away to college for 4 or 5 years. And so, I've always believed in experiential learning, having sort of done it myself. And then there's just a massive gap in terms of these issues. This is an area where there's an opportunity for impact. And I really believe in the power of markets when things are done right. I've always been just very interested in. I focused my dissertation on human capital. And so there's a lot of important work to do. I mean, learning is the main engine of economic mobility in our society. And so what a better way to do some good in the world.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you for your work in this area, and thanks for sharing some amazing data and insights with us today. This is a really interesting area where the sort of tectonic plates of work and academia sort of rub up against each other, and interesting things are happening. So I appreciate the time. It was really great to talk to you, Sean. Thanks for coming on the show.
Sure. Thanks for the dialogue. It's been great.
I thought the future would be cooler.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Learning is the New Working. We absolutely love hearing from our listeners. We especially love feedback on existing shows, ideas for new topics and guests, and suggestions on how we can make the show more relevant. All feedback's most welcome here. And here's 3 ways that you can talk back, move the conversation forward, and influence the future of workplace learning. First, you can rate the show on your preferred podcast platform to help pluck us from relative obscurity and help other people find us. Second, you can sign up for our newsletter or leave comments on individual shows at our brand new podcast website, which is www.learningisthenewworking.org. And 3, you can share your favorite episodes with people in your professional network on social media. We'd like to thank all our participants, our season sponsors, and you, our listeners. And we'll see you next time on Learning is the New Working.
I thought the future would be cooler.